On the afternoon of the 29th of September 2013, a mayday was issued by a sailing vessel Inishki whilst en route from Sydney to Wanganui, New Zealand. The yacht's life raft and bow hatches had been torn off the vessel whilst in heavy seas, resulting in a rapid ingress of water, and the two crew were preparing to abandon into their 2.5 metre inflatable tender. AMSA's dedicated rescue aircraft, Rescue 431, was tasked from Essendon, and container ship MV Wilhelmshaven was diverted to provide assistance. Rescue 431 was able to drop a life raft and light stores canister to the vessel, and a short time later the sinking vessel was abandoned by the crew. The merchant vessel arrived on scene after last light and was unable to provide assistance due to the heavy weather. The Wilhelmshaven reported seeing strobe lights in the water but was unable to provide any other information to us. In response to a request for military assistance, a Royal Australian Navy Seahawk helicopter, call sign Tiger 74, was tasked with rescue of the yacht's crew. Tiger 74 proceeded to the distressed location and, whilst in darkness, was able to locate the two crew in the life raft and winch them to safety whilst 340 nautical miles offshore in the Tasman Sea. Tiger 74 was then able to recover to Australian warship HMAS Perth, which had been diverted and was en route to the distressed location, and safely returned the two survivors to HMAS Albatross the following morning. In recognition of that extraordinary achievement, we've had a plaque made up, presented by Operations Manager Alan Hoyt. Don't drop it, it's a lethal weapon. Okay.
I'll get guys.
Thank you. Thank you from AMSA. And of course, all our brethren in our community. So thank you very much.
We're just manning up, about to start up, and I got a bit of a tap on the shoulder and just said, look, just be aware that there's some tasks to come in. There's a bit of a rescue going on, so don't be surprised if we get retasked. There wasn't much information at the time, so we just had to keep going with what we were already planning to achieve anyway. So we launched them now and went out to HMAS Perth and landed on, and in that sort of 15-minute window, the task had came through that there was two stricken yachtsmen 360 miles off the east coast of Jarvis Bay, and that we'll retask to remain on Perth until we can get within our limits to then launch and do the recovery. When we launched from the ship, quite benign conditions, 10 knots of wind, not a lot of sea state. Obviously we tracked 202 miles from when we launched, and in that time frame the conditions changed to sort of a 5 to 6 metre swell, and the wind actually abated to zero, which may sound like a good thing, but unfortunately with a Seahawk puts out about 260 knots of wind. So you put a life raft underneath that, it gets blown around quite a bit. If we have 10 to 15 knots of wind, it pushes that downwash behind the life raft, so it makes our job a lot easier. So quite poor conditions really to affect a rescue. There was already fixed wing aircraft on top of the survivors, so they gave us an accurate position of where they were, which is good for us. It meant we can go straight there and just focus on the rescue. There was 3 strobes, and we're on night vision goggles at the time, so as soon as we got close to them we could see the life raft, we could see people in them. And so we're straight away to put the aircraft into a hover over top and then winch the wireman out to effect the rescue. The conditions meant that the life raft was getting pushed around a fair bit, so it sort of exacerbated the time frame taken to do the rescue, which eats into our fuel reserves, which is sort of starting to get a bit critical.
Once we got out on scene, we'd set up Blake as the wireman, so he was in a wetsuit, ready to be lowered down into the water. Whilst Blake was in the water, there was very little wind, so it was quite hard to position the aircraft above the life raft to effect the rescue.
At the start, when I went down, we had the rescue light on, which was great for my situational awareness. However, with the salt spray that was being blown up with the rotor downwash, with the lack of wind, it inhibited the guys on NVGs. So to make better performance of the goggles, they turned the rescue light off, which means I was stuck down on the wire with just my little torch. So it made life interesting, but it was probably a good thing that I didn't have too much light on around me, because I wasn't able to tell how big the swell was. I got in the life raft the first time, and obviously the guy was right there, so I went to put the strap on the closest survivor, and chivalry's not dead, he pointed to his wife, and I got her out first. And they were cold and very quiet and weren't responding to too much, so we were able to pull her out. And she wasn't even able to pull herself up into the seat when we got up into the aircraft.
Blake had some muesli bars in his in a bag that he had, so we gave them to him, some bottles of water, and sort of as it went on a little bit, sort of the smiles came through. They started to get a little bit more colour in their face.
The air crewmen spoke to them. We kept them talking through sort of our transit back, so we just want to make them keep talking. They were quite tired, so they're trying to sleep, but tried to keep them awake, give them something to eat, just so that if they didn't go into shock, because they were suffering from mild hypothermia. I spoke to the crew, the couple after it, just to make sure they're okay, and they were obviously quite grateful that we were able to rescue. Very lucky, 306 miles off the east coast, in the middle of nowhere, for us to be able to find them, even to effect a rescue, was quite lucky on their behalf.